Hey guys, you're watching Cutie Crafts, or in this video, Cutie Gardens. I've been getting into gardening again this summer and I wanted to share with you guys how I built my first raised vegetable garden bed. It's super easy to set up, you don't need any nails or a hammer, and I think it's a really great and fast method for beginner gardeners like me and my mom, who will also be helping me with this project. In our backyard, we have this area of grass that gets a lot of sunlight every day, so the plan was to build a sideways C-shaped frame with these dimensions. Each of the dots you see here will be a planter block that connects together wooden planks. Planter blocks are these conveniently shaped bricks, essentially, that are made for building garden beds, and they can fit wood planks as thick as 2 inches. I need 16 of these for my layout, and just a heads up, they are 23 pounds each, so they are pretty heavy, but they'll be very sturdy for the bed. The wood I am using is untreated cedar planks. These are usually used for deck boarding. They are 6 inches wide and 2 inches thick. I bought 4 12-foot long planks. 2 of them I kept as is, and the other 2 I got them cut in store into 3-foot planks. Then I also got 3 10-foot planks that were each cut in half to 5 feet. One of the problems with our lawn is that it's not completely flat and it slopes downward toward the fence. So we had to fix this by digging up the ground and trying to level it. This part is unnecessary. If your ground is already flat, just place your bricks down, slide the wood in, and you're good to go, but our lawn is just too sloped. We had to fix it. First, we traced an outline using some old baby powder so that we knew where to dig, and it would have been a lot easier if this was done after a rainy day, but it was sunny all week, and we were still able to lift the grass up from the higher parts of the ground and flipped it over to the lower parts. To help the blocks stay leveled, we also added some rocks underneath so that it won't sink too much once the dirt settles. I decided to add a weed barrier at the bottom of the bed to prevent the nearby tree roots and grubs from getting into the garden soil, but I've read that many people choose not to add one and they go with cardboard and newspapers instead that can decompose. I don't have enough experience to know if adding a weed barrier will be beneficial or not to the garden bed. I think my main concern is if water is able to drain well with a weed barrier underneath. If I do run into any problems, especially with water drainage, I will just fix it next year. Now it's finally time to position all of these planter blocks, assembling one layer at a time. What I love about this method is that it's not a permanent fixture. I don't have to nail anything together or use any tools to build this frame, and the blocks allow for a few inches of error when sliding in the different lengths of wooden planks. First layer done, now we have to do the second layer. The frame of the bed is all assembled now, very straightforward and easy. We just had that extra step of leveling the ground, but it was all good once the plank slid in and we checked with a leveler. As an extra precaution to prolong the life of the cedar planks, we thought that adding some more weed barrier to the sides would help keep the inner side of the bed from wearing down once all of the soil goes in. We temporarily used some tape to hold up the weed barrier before adding all of the soil. Now here's a real-life math problem we need to solve. With the approximate dimensions of this garden bed shown below, what volume of soil is needed to fill it up? Give answers in cubic feet for full marks. Unless you want to pause the video to figure that out, the answer is a lot. Approximately 45 cubic feet of soil is needed for my garden bed, but I won't be filling it all the way to the top. I'll leave around 2 inches of space. This is just so I can add some new soil the next year and also to save a little bit of money. I need to look more deeply into the soil science of gardening, but I just went with some of these pre-mixed garden soils that are supposed to be formulated to be good for garden beds. And I also have a 3-in-1 garden mix, and I will be mixing in some cattle manure. The garden bed is all filled up now with the soil that we bought. We'll probably get some more bags of topsoil to top off the remaining weed barrier that's showing. But that is it. That is the garden bed all filled up, and finally our last step is to plant the veggies. We've had this for about a month now and haven't run into any problems yet. I forgot to mention I added some decorative pink feldspar near the edges so the grass doesn't grow along the wood. I have a variety of veggies that I'm really hoping will grow and be harvested, including some carrots. I've never pulled a carrot out of the ground before, and I would really love to check that off of my bucket list. It's also my first time trying to grow some beans. I would love to see what a beanstalk actually looks like. Also got some green onions and tomatoes, which I've planted plenty of before. Lastly, I have some cucumbers and my favorite spaghetti squash, which I successfully harvested last year, but I grew them in this styrofoam container that came with a ping pong robot, so if they could grow in those kind of conditions, they should be able to grow in the new garden bed too. We'll just have to see how things go for this season. That's how I built my raised vegetable garden bed. I'm really crossing my fingers that the vegetables will grow, but we'll just have to see where Mother Nature takes us this season, and hopefully I can at least harvest one tomato and pull out one carrot. I'm still a little bit iffy on whether or not the weed barrier was a good choice. I will keep monitoring it and eventually update you guys maybe in a few months. If this video was helpful at all, or if it inspired any ideas, I'd really appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up, subscribe for more projects that I like to make. If any of you guys are experienced gardeners or know a lot about raising vegetables in a raised garden bed, then I would love to hear your experiences and advice, and I will see you guys next time with another kitty craft. Bye!